Thank you all for being here. Thank you again to our speakers. Are there any questions? If there are, please ask them. Matt.
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Lichstein. Yeah, thank you. I know this is probably a multiple-day question, but how do you avert the sleep disorders that 40% of the older individuals? Can you give, like, I know I'm sure it's a long list, but two or three key.
Keep your weight down. That would help us see that. You could develop healthy sleep habits that may insulate yourself against insomnia. Restless legs is just a matter of luck. That's a neurological disorder. Get it? Same is true with behavior disorders, circadian disorders. There's no behavioral or psychological component to either protecting from those disorders or treating those disorders. I think weight would be an issue with sleep apnea. And there are slender people who get sleep apnea as well. That's just poor luck. There's nothing we can do to prevent that. But weight is an important factor with much of sleep apnea and insomnia. And I think you can develop healthy sleep habits that would help protect you from insomnia to a certain degree.
If the government were to ask your professional opinion about daylight savings time, what would you say?
I'm so sick of talking about daylight savings time. So, the Senate has passed legislation to make daylight savings time 12 months a year. The House of Representatives have taken no action. In the meantime, they've invited expert testimony from the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. And what the sleep experts say is, changing the clock is a nuisance and nobody wants to keep on changing the clock. Let's keep standard time 12 months a year. So there is this conflict. Excuse me, allergies are acting up. There is this conflict between the Senate and House of Representatives. What else is there? So here's the issue. Standard time fits our circadian rhythms better than daylight savings time. Daylight savings time serves the purposes of business. People are up later at night. They're spending more money. Serves the purposes of media. Serves the purposes of the entertainment industry. So, many people really enjoy daylight savings time, but there's actually fascinating data showing that heart disease, car wrecks, some forms of cancer increase during daylight savings time compared to standard time. And the issue is the desynchrony between when we have the opportunity to expose to light and our circadian needs. So the whole issue is 1 hour of daylight. Do you want to stick it at night or do you want to stick it in the morning? So we wake up in the morning and light helps us become more alert, more active, taking on the day. So the light in the morning fits our circadian needs. And daylight savings time takes that hour of light and sticks it at night, particularly in the northern cities, where during the winter, if we had daylight savings time during the winter, the sun would rise to around 10 o'clock in the morning. So children are going to school in the dark, people are going to work in the dark, and getting your circadian rhythm upset is not in your best interest because it regulates all of your bodily processes. So from a sleep science point of view, there's no debate at all. From the point of businesses or recreation or things of that sort, daylight savings time is more appealing.
There was a question in the back.
Yes, when you said the number of awakenings as you age is a mandate that it will increase sometimes two times a night, is that including those non-significant awakenings that you don't remember?
Well, yeah. So really from polysomnography studies, we have a very consistent, clear idea of how many awakenings are occurring. But many of them are brief. So experientially, they don't really register for us. We wake up in the night, we're groggy, we turn over, go back to sleep. So it's counted as an awakening. Experientially, it never happened. Okay.
So I'm curious the relationship between time that you're awake in the night versus the number.
I'm sorry, I don't have the hearing ear old.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, stand up and say it loud.
So here's the relationship between the time that you're awake at night versus the number of times that you wake up, and if there's more significance for one versus the other on sleep quality. So like if you're waking up more times, but you're awake for less time in the night, is there more significance with one versus the other?
Yeah, so we have great data on that. So if people have any number of awakenings during the night, they may go to the bathroom, they may get a snack, or they return to bed and fall asleep relatively quickly within 5 or 10 minutes, they don't report that as poor sleep. It's being awake in bed when you want to get to sleep, which is the worst part of the cycle. So if the return to sleep is relatively fast, people do not report that as a bad night's sleep.
What if you're like a dreamer? If you're very aware of your dreams, are you sleeping? If you can recount them when you wake up, were you really sleeping heavy?
So dream research was one of the earliest areas of sleep research. It was very popular in the 50s, 60s, started fading out in the 70s. By now, there's very little dream research going on. So, let me just say that we all dream every night. Most of us don't recall the dream. So there's a difference between having a dream and recalling a dream. And there's not much significance to it either way. So there have been hundreds of studies of the personality characteristics, what you call dreamers, people who recall their dreams. And that literature is just a mess. There's nothing consistent about a personality type of person that recalls their dream. So the one exception to this are dreams associated with PTSD. So those are thematically consistent. Oftentimes they'd be described as nightmares and repetitive. And those dreams have psychological significance.
My question is prompted by your book, Mark, Kelli, thank you, but any of you can answer from your different perspectives. And the question is, in your view, are these listed top to bottom in order of importance, or would you see them all as equally important? And for people who want to improve their well-being and quality of life, who need something to focus on, what would you go to first, and what would you go to next? Or is that a bad paradigm to try to take them one at a time, and it really has to be a holistic approach? I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Okay, so from my approach, or from my viewpoint and my experience, the very first and most important is hydration. I think it really affects our body in so many ways. I think the other 5 play out on a completely horizontal scale. And so from my perspective, one tiny little change, start with water, and the rest of them are as you can. Right? And then I do believe that those 6 things are just the crux of really optimizing who we are as human beings. And you both mentioned this. It doesn't start in our 70s. It starts in our teens, in our 20s, in our 30s. And we were just laughing about this last night, Corinne and I, about she talks to her nursing students about we're always aging, right? We're born and we start aging. And from my perspective and my experience in interviewing all of these people, it's really fascinating to me because when you ask a young woman, when you talk to them about aging, the first thing they think about is, oh my gosh, the wrinkles on my face. And a young man automatically thinks about their muscle structure, and how strong they are, and how capable they are. But when you talk to someone that's older, it's really about healthy lifestyle. But that has to start when we're young. So that's my viewpoint on it.
So I have a question for you related to this. So there's a condition called nocturia, excessive urination during the night, and that increases with age.
Sure.
So we'll often advise older adults, if they're troubled by nocturia, to restrict their liquid intake for at least a couple of hours before they go to sleep. How does that?
That's exactly what I counseled people when I was kind of educating, is I would say start early in the morning, have a bottle of water next to the bed. Before you even get up out of the bed, put your feet on the floor, drink some water, go in, use the facilities, do what you need to do in the morning, drink another bottle of water, you're halfway there, right? So if you're drinking 6 bottles of water a day or 8 glasses of water a day, have 2 before you even go have breakfast. You're urinating before you leave for work, everything works out fine, you drink some water with dinner, and then you should be set to cruise.
Yes, question?
My question is also for Kelli. You touched on vitamins and supplements, and we know that vitamins and supplements out there, they are not created equal.
Right?
And they can be very expensive.
Yes.
The ones that claim that they are the best. Where do I go to find the right information? Are there any resources for me out there?
Your most accessible medical provider is your pharmacist. Walk into your pharmacist, they are a doctor of medicine, of pharmacy. They're going to be able to tell you which ones are working and which ones are not.
Even if they are non-prescription?
Yep.
Over the counter?
Yep, and don't go to, because you're going to get a giant bottle. The efficacy of the medication or supplement inside the bottle is gone in 6 to 8 months-ish, and you still have 3 years left on whatever you've purchased.
And what do you know about gummies? Are those, because at my age, sometimes it's really hard to swallow those huge things.
Yeah, I actually, this is kind of silly and who knows, but my pharmacist and I have a really great relationship, and I said, vitamins make me sick to my stomach, because I like to pop my vitamin in the morning and then get on my day. And I'm an early riser. We talk about the patterns of sleep. I have always coached people to really acknowledge who you are, what your schedule is, and honor that schedule. So I'm an early morning riser. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, but I am also in bed by 8:30 at night. And so when people ask me to go out at night, it's not happening. We can do a walk at lunch, but it better be, better be early morning for me. So I'm one of those people who takes my vitamin early in the morning, and usually before breakfast. So if I eat a gummy, it doesn't make me sick to my stomach. Yeah. So I like those gummy vitamins. I think they're really efficient, and I actually take a vitamin that has calcium in it as well. So, but talk to your pharmacist.
Got another question in the back?
Yes, I like what the gentleman on sleep said about this doesn't necessarily about napping. It technically looks like a negative, but I like what you said. You're not saying that it is a negative because, for instance, I, like many, have been put in a situation where you're raising a grandchild. And this is from birth, where your sleep cycle or your schedule, you cannot honor your schedule anymore because you've got a baby that is dependent on you. And all of a sudden those naps became crucial, and the sleep when the baby sleeps that I never did with my own kids because that's when I could get something clean or take a shower, especially when I had twins, has become crucial in my older years, taking care of a grandchild. And so you have to be able to adapt, but those naps have been my saving grace, and I sleep when the baby sleeps, and it helps.
Okay. Yeah.
So my question is about the number of falls reported. So I know that you said the number of falls.
Sorry, go ahead, stand up and speak loudly.
I know that you said the number of falls for seniors or reported when they're more physically active was less. But did you see any difference in severity of the falls because they are being more physically active? Like did the severity of the falls increase because of the activity they were doing?
Does anybody know the answer to that question? This research was not my research. It was just on an aging website. So that's a great question. I don't know the answer to it. What I feel like we do know is that the more physically active that we are, the better balance that we have, the less that we fall. Severity is a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't have that data. Sorry.
I have some anecdotal, I guess, experiences because I've been going down to the senior games for a long time, and I've seen a lot of the athletes that compete there. And even as they come through the health screenings, some of the health screenings, like the functional strength station where we do vertical jump, I've actually seen the athletes fall. I mean, in softball, they slide. You know, an 80-year-old sliding into third base or home plate. So what I've noticed is they tend to fall better. In other words, they haven't forgotten how to fall. So that's something that I have seen.
I've also noticed that when they fall, they're much quicker, because their reaction time is so much more kind of honed in, they're much quicker to put their hands out, stop the fall, maybe land on their knees rather than go all the way down so that they're not breaking their hip, they might hurt their knees, but the damage is slightly different. I also know from my experience, and I'm trying to recall, but it seems to me like the more muscle we have, our muscle structure, the healthier our muscle structure is, the better our bone structure is. Right, and that's not my forte or my specialty, so I do think that there's a tie-in to that.
True.
Let me just add this really quick as well. This isn't the answer to your question, but we had a guest on our podcast a couple of weeks ago where there's a lot of research. You talk about muscle structure. There's a lot of research that is showing now that fast twitch muscle is so much more important to preventing falls than slow twitch muscle. So power and speed are becoming more widely known to reduce the number of falls than endurance or strength. So a lot of personal trainers who are working with senior populations now, instead of working on heavy squats and bench presses, are now working on how fast can you go up and down this step so many times, or how many times can you stand up from a seated position in a minute. And they're finding that those that develop those fast twitch muscles fall less and have better balance. And they're also finding that as we age, we do have a tendency to lose muscle mass, but they're finding that fast twitch muscle mass is lost at a rate of 2 times slow twitch muscle mass. And so what happens when a senior stumbles is that their fast twitch muscle isn't developed enough to move their feet to catch them. And so instead of catching themselves and just stumbling and moving on like a teenager might do, they stumble, they can't catch themselves, and then they fall down. So if there's an area that you can work on to prevent falls, it's got to be that fast twitch muscle area. That's what the research is now showing.
Good. Okay, probably last question. Go ahead.
It's really quick. I realize the games are not for spectator sport, but
Sure
is
they
there
are. Sure they are. Absolutely.
But are there stadiums? Can you watch these baseball games?
Yes. So all of our sports are open to spectators. There's no charge. So we would invite you to come down and watch first and get inspired, and then come back next year and register for a sport.
Hanger Hills has 12,000 visitors. It's amazing.
Yeah, so our community has built additional hotels, which has been very helpful to us, but the Airbnb market has changed all of that. So I was telling somebody last night, when I first started with the game 16 years ago, probably 90% of our phone calls to the office after August were, where can I stay? I can't find a hotel. I don't know what I'm going to do. We never get a call about that anymore. So we figured out a way to house people. So there's plenty of room. come on down and be a part of it.
And timing-wise on that, so we host our marathon the first Saturday of October. The Huntsman World Senior Games starts, is it Sunday or Monday? Monday morning. And on Tuesday night, we have the most amazing opening ceremonies. It's always held now at Utah Tech. It's amazing. They bring in flags. It's just like the Olympics.
And when are they held?
It's always the
It's
first
October.
Tuesday of our event. So this year, it's the 10th, October 10th.
Yeah, you can look at the
Put that on your
website.
calendar.
Yeah, you can also go to the Huntsman Senior Games website and get all that information.
Seniorgames.net.
Yeah, seniorgames.net. I'd like to thank you all for being here, but most of all, we could thank our speakers. I appreciate them coming, taking the time, sharing their knowledge and expertise. We have a gift for each of them. As I give that to them, please feel free to share your appreciation. I don't know what's in this gift bag, but if I was in charge, it would be an umbrella.
Maybe 12 seconds.